Sorry about that. I think the stream got cut off. Okay, so I think once we get a bit more viewers, I'm probably going to get started and go back into the job I was about to show you. Okay, so basically, this is sort of the new game that I've been working on, and I kind of talked through the logic about the main gist of how it works before. So, one of the things I was kind of going through was this sort of high level game loop where you kind of like maybe before I sort of jump into that, I should probably just show the game in action. I think that's probably a more better take on the thing. So this is kind of like really early days at the moment. So like take it with a pinch of salt. It's not, um, the graphics and things need to be improved a lot. A lot of what I've got is what we call wireframe. So it's not like, I mean, some of there's AI art in the background and things which kind of helps, keep the game hanging together. So I'm gonna just pick a random level. So I'll pick, I think level one's not too bad. And so this is what I've got so far. Well, actually, maybe level one. I've only got one enemy, so I'll need to pick another. Right. So let me pick another enemy, another level. You'll see me just dancing backwards and forwards to the what's the word I'm looking for? To the socials, just to make sure that I'm not missing anything. Um, And that way I can answer questions as they come in. So you'll just see me flicking between Internet Explorer, but don't worry too much. It's just me going through my socials so I can get back to any questions that people ask. So I'll show the game just sort of like in a high level. Try level 2. I think level 2 should be, yeah, okay, so this is pretty busy level. That's right. The whole reason I was going to do this stream was because I was going to also show the map maker that I've built. So basically, like, you've got a few modes. So I've got like this lock-on mode, which I think I can toggle on and off. Need to find the right one. Yes, I can toggle it off like that. So this lock-on mode makes the game a lot easier, right? Because you just basically, for now anyway, it will get a lot harder as I add more in. So I basically got tanks and a few other enemies. So let me go find some more enemies to kick ass. So yeah, I've just built these missiles about 5 minutes ago. So the idea of the missiles is they're not going to be really good until I add homing onto them, which is, I'll probably do that in this tutorial as well, and in this video as well. Unless, like, obviously I want to, talk about anything that you guys want to. So if it's just like normal chat, tech industry, finding a job, whatever, yeah, hit me up with that. Otherwise, I'll just play through the game and build the game. So, like, so far, like, for approximately 5 days dev, I would say. It is 5 days, maybe 5-6 days. It looks a lot more mature than that because some of the sprites I've reused, and also I've been developing games for a little while now, so I'm quite good at it. So I can build quite fast. There we go, I died. So let's jump back to the social, see what's going on there. So we've got some viewers, but I guess people are just quite quiet. Yeah, but like that's the basics of how the game works so far, right? Like you've got this kind of open world. So this was a bit like Omega Storm that I did. Maybe I can show that while it's easier for me just to actually show it in my channel. Yeah, so oh, interesting. So Omega Storm is actually a thing. It must be quite new. Yeah, there you go, because I actually made the game way before. Damn it, and it's Marvel as well. So or I think Capcom or Marvel or maybe DC. So I'll probably get a lawsuit. So I need to change the game name. Go figure. But if I go to, let's see my videos. Where is it? My videos. And I should just show you an example of a few before to show you some similarities of the game. So I think 2 minutes is free roam. So play this. Yeah, so this is kind of like what I had a couple of years ago using Game Maker Engine, and it looks better because I spent more time on the graphics, I guess. But the one that I've built in the past 5 days is far superior in terms of playability and just getting everything to hang and get together. Also, I'm not using like this uses a lot of baby bumper frameworks because you're using a game engine, whereas I've kind of built out the entire engine myself. So this is, looking back at this, it's not too bad. There's some extra bits I'd like to add in later, like the points going up there. So that was like one of the original sort of ways the game played. Oh, hi. I need to sign into chat, so I'll just send a message. Hi, thanks for saying hello. Actually, it's in my YouTube feed. Hey. Anime? Yeah, it's kind of. I did try to go for that feel. Let's try and find another example of the shmup version. I think I've got like a shmup version. I could just play the game, I suppose. That might be easier. Let's see this little layout test, early demo. This devlog probably will show it. It's a devlog I did a while back. One of the guys I followed used to do that, so it was a good. Yeah, so that's more what it looked like, the shmup version. So again, I'd sort of coded that myself. So that's how I made a Twitter handle. So I wanted the players to be able to play both shmup and open world, but they were two separate games. So that's not really. It's good. I could probably like finish out both of the games and then split them in two and then release two of them separately. But like I kind of thought, what would be better is to have a shmup where I could build the full feature, like both features of shmup and open world play together and mix in an RPG. So that's kind of what the theme I'm going for just now. So it's basically a combination of a shmup and an RPG and an open world game. Sounds quite ambitious, but I think I'm at the position now I can actually do that. So yeah, that's where I am just now. Making pancakes. Is the new one completely on Pygame, and why are the shadows wonky? Oh, that's good. That's a feature list. Thanks for that. I'm not sure Making Pancakes is, but the new one is completely on Pygame. That's actually really good. I'll write that down. I've got a feature list. So shadows wonky. What do you feel about it being wonky? Like that's a good question. What shadow wonky fix? Like I'm interested what you think the shadows should look like. I'm gonna go quickly jump in and try again on open map. So yeah, I was kind of like thinking the perspective of the shadow would depend where the light source is, right? So it can't just be at the same distance everywhere you turn. So I wanted it to sort of come in closer, say you're facing this angle. So this would mean, I don't know, would this mean the sun's directly? I think this would mean the sun is behind. So at this point, the sun's in front. I think that's the case. Yeah, pretty sure that's how it would be. Yeah, anime girl. Where's the sun? Yeah, that's a good question. I've not coded the sun, but I should. I should probably add that in as a feature, as a lighting source. Light source. Yeah, I could do that. That's not too hard. I think that's a good thing. So at the moment, technically, there isn't the sun, but if there was, it would be like pointing this way, so that as you turn, the sun's directly behind you, your shadow. Yeah, I don't know. I probably need to think about the physics a bit more of it, but that's the sort of general kind of idea of that. Let's try another. I'm going to go and start going into the map maker unless anybody wants to like talk about certain things. I'll jump to multi-stream. Let's go. Cool. Game dev is something I don't know much about. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like it took me time to pick up game development. So like I had to sort of step through the process by kind of first starting on Game Maker. I added a lot of people on Twitter and Twitch and things like that, and then slowly built out like a network and just started coding up. At the moment, everything's in here, so this is like all of my game. So I've got levels in the level folder. I might quickly run over the README now, the game flow. So basically the way it works is you've got like a main loop. So the game starts off as a main function. And in this main function, it sets up all of the images and things. So all these are like pointing to like different picture files and audio files. I've not got audio set up yet on it, but that would be done in that stage. So everything gets loaded to begin with in the game. And then what happens is it loads up. I've created like this coordinator class where it basically decides, is it the intro, is it the title screen? And then once you actually start the game, this sort of game logic kicks in where there's like a higher level parent, like a controller again, which will just basically start, it will load the assets needed for the game for that level and then just run the level. Now, in the level objects, like I've got, for example, one here, right? Basically, you've got your main level loop. I've got a loop where it manages all of the bullets because there's a lot of bullets moving. I need to know what they've hit, what they've collided with, if they've collided with an enemy or an ally. So the bullet basically draws itself every frame and it moves every frame, like depending on where it needs to go. Then sort of missile plumes, smoke from the missile. Then I've got like the player, that's just like who you control. Again, just managing all its actions. So this is like depending on what you push and things. And then I've got enemy actions, and this whole big blob I should take away is just to stop. If you like, I notice in a lot of shmups and maybe even open world shooters, twin stick shooters, like if you collide with an enemy, you're just dead. So I wanted to just take damage, maybe make the plane flash red a bit, and then move it out the way. And so that's the kind of basic idea of how the game flows. So yeah, um, GUI match. Yeah, it's just a name. I just kind of, I just kind of thought like I just give like the characters a name of the stuff that I'm sort of importing and things. Um, but yeah, it's kind of, I don't know, like a lot of these assets are subject to change, right? So um, let's load up the game, and I'll just going to do a bit of map maker. So yeah, you'll probably see pictures there. They're just on stills, and they just go over. A lot of it's AI art that I've sort of created using prompts and stuff, and I use a feedback loop. So I use my own AI GPT-3 to refine prompts and then refine pictures and then feed it back in again until to mid journey, and then just basically till I get something that looks cool. So I've got a lot of like designs that I'm gonna, again, like I said, everything's wireframe. Like once this is all done, I'll be spending a lot more time designing and drawing the sprites, because like, I mean, look, the sprites here are like so super basic. If I go into my here, like if I go to my map set, where are we? Tile sets. I've just made some really quick ones, like grass. I was like, I have no idea like how to draw grass, so I just quickly, Googled like what does grass pictures look like normally, and then just created a few slides so I could, work with this map editor. So what we'll do is we're gonna load an existing map that I've got. So I've got a few that I've made already, and I can create more. But I've got a level 1 map. I'm kind of happy with it so far. So like, it took me, I would say 2 days to get the full map editor mechanics working. So what I can do is I can click a place, click it again, and then I can, pick the sprite that I want to put in there. So in this case, it's concrete. And then I can just, go through them and add bits and bobs. So maybe add this L here, right, for example. And then I can add enemies, right? So I've only got one enemy here, and I need to add more enemies and create more. I might do that in game if there was enough people interested. So I'll make his patrol route a bit wider, maybe. So maybe patrol up to here, and then back to here again. So that's now set that patrol route. I'll set some fighters here. So I'm gonna set this one here, to here, to here, back again. Another one. So this is me just like again, I designed this whole map editor so I can, I messed that up in the patrol routes, it doesn't matter. Just keep it roughly the same. So this guy, these will do a little circle. I'll maybe put a couple of tanks here and make it patrol up and down. You need a lot of tanks here, I think. So we'll start here, patrol up here, here, here. So it will kind of go in a weird, because I've only put 4 points for now. I'm going to make him patrol on the outer rim. Yeah, make that guy patrol up to here, this point, to back here again. It should repeat. So I'll add some fighters here. If anybody's interested to see how I did the code for this, yeah, definitely I'm happy to show. Like I did a stream last time where I showed like how I did the coding. It was quite not challenging as such, but just like kind of tedious at times, because like the designing the whole way like the flow and things, having to think through that did take a little bit of architecting. But ultimately, like, it makes you a better developer once you can build these things and you can build your own engine, I think, because honestly, I kind of feel like learning so much to understand an engine, and then if that engine becomes redundant or something, then you basically lost all of your years learning that thing. And sometimes you might, I don't like the idea of relying on a single tool, which is why I've got to build this all out myself. I'll put a few more scouts here and then I'll kind of finish up here. So I'll make him go up here. A nice little patrol route there. This is going to cause me a lot of trouble when I play this, because there's not really going to be much rest. So I can just click save and that's that done. So I'll jump back to social, see what people are saying. Weapon ideas, yeah, okay, good point. Let's go into that. I'll talk about the weapons and what I've got. So some of the art is Mid-Journey, some of it's me. A lot of the Mid-Journey stuff is just so, because like I say, this to build this took me 5 days. So my plan is once I actually am ready, I will spend a lot of time doing the artwork. But I want to do the artwork and the music at the end once I have the full game. But I learned a lot, right? Like, I learned a huge amount about the importance of getting the actual mechanics working first. And I'm quite happy with these mechanics now. So, in this local mode, right? So let's look at weapons. So I've got a twin shooter. I don't know if you're still there, the guy who asked about weapons, but I'll show you. Let me just double check. Because sometimes, like, I could go deep into the weapons and then don't have anybody on the stream. But yeah, so basically, like, I've got a double shooter at the moment, a single shooter. These are like animated ones, so let me kind of show you. See, like, how it kind of like swivels. I'll try and find so yeah, there, if I shoot off the edge of the screen. Obviously that's not going to be in the final game. I'm not going to have you go up to the edge of a black screen. But you can see that's kind of like, that looks a bit better in space, right? You've got these kind of like snaking out, they snake out a bit. I could make it a bit longer. And then this is the one I like the most at the moment. It feels more like a real weapon from a helicopter, whereas this isn't technically a helicopter, but it's not. It's inspired by the Orca from Command & Conquer, so it's like a combination of a fighter jet and a helicopter, so it can go into space as well, because I'm going to have space battles. So I've got these kind of weapons at the moment, and then I've got missiles as well, so I'll kind of unleash the missiles in a minute. I'll just hold the button. So you see these missiles fire off. I'll actually fix the missiles while we're in the game here. So you see these missiles, they just kind of go. So what I did was I coded it so they drop back and then race forward, right? And they leave a little plume. But they're a bit slow at the moment. And they're obviously like, I've got to experiment more with how I want to do the like the damage, because I'm absolutely destroying the tanks before the missiles can even hit them. So what I'll do is I'm going to go and fix that right now. Go on, I'm there. So let's do that. So basically at the moment I've got like a bunch of different guns and the missiles. I'll probably add lasers. I'm going to add EMP blasts. So like you and your enemies can like disable each other by using the EMP. Shields, shield busters. I'm going to have all of the typical shmup weapons. Like, I don't know if you've ever played, the Raiden Project. So if we go Raiden Project PS1, now exactly this weapon here, I'll probably want to put this in as well. It's a really nice feature. And notice there, you see like how he's destroyed the tank and there's like the concrete's damaged. That's what I'll add in as well. This game's kind of old, but it's a really good thing to to try and emulate, and maybe not emulate, but to like take inspiration from. I remember at the time thinking I absolutely wasn't interested in shmups at the time, but now I look back at this and go, actually there's quite a lot of detail in this game, right? It's like really, really well done. Obviously, this is a shmup, so they can't really. This guy can't control his direction. It's all scripted moving forward. I'll have that in as well. But for now, there's a lot of features and weapons that I'd like to copy, or again, not copy, but like get inspiration from. So I don't like how ridiculously overpowered that weapon is. So I'd make something similar that either the beam would be more square, it could be reflected more, it would dissipate more. But yeah, so at the moment, I've just got some bits and bobs in the game. So I'm going to go and fix these missiles. So let's just quickly show the problem that we've got again. So if I pick to start, we'll go for level 1, right? I'm only holding the missile weapons just now. So I can hit them, but most of the times I'm actually missing, right? Because like these, I also should make the tanks so that they, don't collide with each other. But it's not a big deal at the moment. And yeah, so the tanks have got 200 HP and I'm giving the missiles 100 damage. But the problem with the missiles just now is that they don't home, right? But I don't want these missiles to be super homing because I'm going to have more variants of missiles. So at the moment, this is what the missile looks like. Again, it's all wireframe, right? So it's like quite, it takes me like a couple of, to make the missile took me, I don't know, like 10 minutes or something. So this is the missile here, right? And then if I compare that to this, pick the micro missile white one, right? So I've got this white micro missile here. It's much smaller. And if I put it here, look at the size difference, right? Although this one actually will look better from a longer distance because it looks like pixelated in a better manner. Whereas this is, it's more defined but less detailed. So it's actually, this looks more cheap. But again, I just took a couple of minutes to build them. So I want these small micro missiles to have a much better turning loop to home a little bit better, but I want this missile to struggle. I want it to have a wide turning arc, so it'll be good for hitting tanks and ground targets. I should probably call it not a sidewinder or AMRAAM, maybe a paveway. I'm trying to think what missiles, like wire guided missiles, are best for ground targets, but I'm going to make this one with a wide turning arc, but I'm going to make it home in. So at the moment it's got I've got two phases. I've got a launch phase, so this is where it goes backwards and left or right initially, and then a boost phase where it accelerates towards the enemy. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add directional turning. So this is just for plume design. I'll keep jumping into the socials in case anybody wants to ask anything else, I need, this OBS Streamlabs is supposed to centralize all of my streams into one place, but a lot of the times it doesn't, so I miss stuff quite a lot. So anyway, I'm going to go and fix this missile just now. So what I want to do is I want to add some kind of homing feature, homing in on the enemy. Now to home in on the enemy, it needs to be locked on. So for now, I won't be able to switch off the locked on, but that's fine. I can just say self locked on enemy. So at the moment, I'm going to give it none. And what I want is I want the player that fires, so this locked on enemy equals none. Pass that in. So what I want to do is just like a high level pseudocode first before I kind of go into it. I want to say if self.locked on enemy, so if there's an enemy that's locked on is not equal to none, right? So that means I've passed in the coordinates of the enemy. And let me think, what else can I say? So if the locked on enemy is not none, and maybe the type of missile, so I'm going to call it the streaker because this one will have a wider turn, and self dot, is it missile type? Again, I can't even remember the stuff I do at the moment. So just pass it for now. Yeah, missile type. Right, okay, so if it's this missile, what I want to do is, after this acceleration phase, I'm going to just slowly face the enemy. So first of all, I need the player to pass the ball to the missile, right? It needs to tell the missile where it's locked on. So I've got locked on, and then when I lock on, I'll have an enemy list. So locked on enemies, enemy locked on index. So let's figure out how it is that because I need to figure out what's the actual coordinates of the enemy. Okay, cool. So face the enemy, angle to target, self X, locked enemy. Okay, so locked enemy dot X. Cool. So that's the variable. So I want to pass this in, and then let me just double check what I'm defaulting this locked in enemy as. So if not none, that's fine. So it's none. If not none, and then what am I resetting the value to when there's no enemy locked on? If locked on not equals none, blah blah blah, that's fine. That's fine, I'm resetting it to none. That's good. Just to make sure I don't get a case problem with the passing the variable. So now I need to find where this is where I fire the missile. So I fire it here, and now I'm just going to pass into that locked on enemy equals self.locked enemy. So this here will be populated with any enemy that's currently locked on, and now it's got all. What I want to do is I want to face the enemy, and I want to get the distance to the enemy and slowly change to target this locked on enemy. So there's a few tricks to do this. So the first one is, I've already made these functions. So the first thing is, let me find it. So the first thing is I want to get the angle to the target, and then I want to face the target. So it's basically, so this is a function that I wrote, which you pass in the target angle and yourself. Make sure that, I think you need to make sure that yourself doesn't have the camera adjusted. I'll need to check that. Yeah, I'll check that as I do it. In fact, let's do that now. Doing like the camera can be an absolute pain. So in this case, the player facing the enemy is not adjusting for the camera. In fact, I don't think it's ever adjusting for the camera, which I suppose is fine. I guess the angle doesn't matter depending on like whatever the camera scale is. So let me find an example here. So literally just that. Okay, cool. So in the missile, all I really need to do is, angle to the enemy and then to face it. Now, obviously this assumes that the enemy still exists, but because we've passed it in as a single time, it's just the coordinate. So if the enemy doesn't exist, it's not the end of the world. It's just going to streak towards a non-existent enemy. So the angle to the target will be, let's see how I use it. So self object is to get this, okay, the self facing. So it's a self.x, and then locked on enemy x, locked on enemy y. So I want this turn-in angle to be quite big, right? Because 2 is going to be super, super accurate, but we'll keep it 2 just now to see if it works. And then angle to enemy. So that's assume this may work, but I'm probably going to get a lot of bugs to begin with. So and just game utils, just import everything. Okay, let's give this a go. See if this works. Try and pick level 1 because it's a little less. Right. Oh, did it? I think it arced. Let's try again. Oh, that totally homed in. Cool. Although not both of them. That's why, because I didn't pass it into both. But that is pretty damn awesome. Now it's going to be super powerful because it's just always going to absolutely annihilate the enemies. So I could add in this locked on enemy here. And was there any other field that I added? I'm just trying to remember. No, that was it. So obviously now this is going to be like a super overpowered weapon because it's just going to hit the enemy pretty much most of the time because its turning angles too. It's too awesome. This is actually harder level, so this will be a good way to test it out. Yeah, damn it. It's going to keep arcing. But hopefully it should run out and... Oh, it doesn't. That should totally die. It should have a range limit. Okay, so that's interesting. Let's see if this kills itself. Nope. Okay, so I need to sort out that range limit. So what I've got is I've got a thing here where the missile should count and then kill itself after a certain amount of time. So check boundary, bullet out of range. So that's because it's not actually exceeded the distance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this a bit different, and rather than say you've fallen out of the range, I'm going to get the distance travelled and then kill it if it's to check boundary. I'm going to do this differently. So I'm going to not even call it check boundary, I'm going to call it manage range manager, right? So what I'm going to do is rather than, because like this was just when the way I develop is I like to do it in iterations. So like rather than me just think everything through and then waste all my time and creativity of designing, I just sometimes build stuff out and do it organically, but not always. So I want to say if this distance traveled is greater than, I think I set a range somewhere. Did I? I think I set a range. Pretty sure I did. Debris, enemy type. There's a GUI. Range. Here we go. Cool. So I said it's 1.5 the GUI width. So I'm going to say in range manager, if this distance is more than self.range, then it's going to go and terminate itself. It doesn't need to return anything now. So that's a lot easier, right? Just bullet, missile burned out, missile fuel burnout, right? And it's out of range. This is just a message that I pass on so I can read in the logs later to see what actually happened. This should behave a bit better now. So let's go and check this out. So the missile should now fire, but not have that wacky, infinite, crazy loop. So didn't like that distance traveled. So range manager is, so I think I just did this. That's fine. Get distance. Check. Okay, let's give this a go. Still quite interested to see what you think about the shadow. Like, what I could do better. Right, okay, so this is, like I say, totally super hyped. Yeah, this is gonna smack them all. But now let's see if this dies out of range. Nope. And I'm using absolute distance as well. That's interesting. It's just not liking it. Get distance traveled. If distance traveled absolute exceeds range, so let's print this distance traveled. It's distance traveled from the origin point. Damn it. Yeah, that's not quite gonna do it. That should be get relative distance travel. So see what happens is it's distance traveled from the origin point. It's a distance between them. what I want to do is I should take the x and the y value. So I should just get, rather than do that, I should say, I need to think how I'm going to do this. Some kind of accumulator, like I need to accumulate the distance traveled so this get relative distance traveled should still work fine. But what I should do is in here, yeah, I think self-accumulated distance. So this is why sometimes you just need to test things out, because even if in your, like, you know, I'm not, like, this isn't rocket science, I'm not really thinking about these things much, I'm just, you know, trying to get to the next feature, right? Like, it's not like I'm calculating probability distribution of, protons in a fission reactor or something, right? So it's more like, how can I make this as simple and not, and get on with it as quick as possible. So what we'll do is we'll say self cumulative distance equals, I think it's like this, square 2 plus this square 2. See if I just remember the calculation. So it's like that square 2, and then math dot square root of the two of them. My square, wonder why that brackets are there, I just need to think about this. There's no reason, it's fine. So what I want to do is go math dot square root of these. I'm just going to print the distance just for now. So every time this adds the velocity, at least I know what it's going to be. So that's fine. And then this will simplify the missile calculation a little bit down the line. So range manager is just basically saying, if this guy is greater than the range, don't need to do the calculation now. I don't need this. So that's it, just this for the range manager. But let's try it out. Wee typo there. Okay. That worked. What numbers are we getting? We're trying to get an arc. Okay. I still killed something though. That's interesting. Right, okay, here we go. We've got an arc now. And I hit the other guy. Damn it. The arcs work nicely with the scouts because they're never in the same place. And you keep hitting them. Okay, cool. Here's a nice arc. What are we getting? Let's just keep going, is it? So it's not like it's just saying 14, 14, 13. Is that because I'm not appending it? Exactly. That's exactly what it is. That's interesting. Will that make distance quite short then? Let's try again. So this is all learning, no? I think that one's self-terminated. Yeah, they're self-terminating. That's good. Yeah, they are. I can I can chase them down because my speed. Get the hell out of there. Yeah, that's good. That's worked. Quite happy with that. Weapons, like 100% homing. Missile, lifetime infinite. Yeah, distance travel from origin. Distance equals distance times delta time. Yeah. I think this way, the way I've got it kind of works, just keep it as simple as possible. You could use a multi-cursor. Oh, that's interesting. Control all up, down arrow. What do you mean multi-cursor? That's a nice idea. Oh, do you just mean like to highlight multiple parts? That's that. By the way, I'm really liking your emojis. That's interesting. Don't know what. Tell me what you mean. Do you mean like this, like multi cursor like that, or something else? Because that's pretty good. That sounds. Any ideas? I'm definitely open to. Sublime text. Yeah. Yeah, multi cursors are brilliant. Do you know though? I've seen some people using like VS Studio, and they've got like some tricks that I kind of wish. But to be fair, like it's Java tricks, right? Like you know, some people like you just click on the function. Like I could click on like move, say the class, like like the class usage. So I don't know, like class that is used by here, right? Like you can like there's some in VS Code, no, or maybe is it VS Code or is it IntelliJ? You can click on it, so that's good. It gives you the reference. But like there's a shortcut where you just click on it and it'll just take you there. I rarely use it though. I only use it for Java because Java's just such a fucking mess, right? Like in Python, it's beautiful, man. It's just like it's so straightforward and easy to manage. Whereas with Java, especially with things like what am I thinking of? You know, like Spring Boot framework or like the original Spring framework. There's just so much under the covers. Whereas like here, it's like this is a function that was defined. You know, this is a function I defined, right? It's like so much easier to follow the logic. And you know, if you want to do like decorators, you can just decorate like that. It's a lot easier for me. But yeah, so I'm kind of happy with like that missile, like the missile behavior. Of course. Oh dear. Let's see. Okay. That's fine. Let's give this one more spin. We'll go for level 1 because that should be a bit more of a cakewalk. Oh yeah, I better check that these missiles are still dying because I think I might have accidentally. Yeah, that's totally dying. Yeah, they're terminating. Probably the next thing I want to do is I want to make when the tank gets hit, I want it to leave the like a plume on the ground, not a plume, like wreckage. I think that will probably be a good move. It's funny. These are like the just like place me tiles there, but they actually look pretty good there. I need to do a lot more of like shading and things, like because this is just like it's so like 8-bit at the moment, and I want to get it to be like at least 16-bit if I can. So yeah, and by the way, the lock-in mechanism is what kind of restricts me a lot. I should probably change weapons to something a bit that's a bit more powerful. Like I can switch off the lock-on, but I haven't quite mastered it. I'll switch it off anyway just for now, just so I can play about with it. But if I switch off the lock-on, will the missiles still work? That's going to be interesting. Let's give it a try. Oh, I killed myself. I don't think they'll work if I've switched off lock on. There's so much more coding I need to do to like add in, signposts and things. So let me switch that off. Yeah, that's switched off now. Cool, missiles still work. So now, see, like trying to get it to have, because this is going to be a mix of a shmup and open world, like trying to get the movement of like this full 360 movement as well as being able to shoot is a tricky one, right? Because like you don't want to just shoot like, you don't want to shoot like this, right? I mean, this is not bad actually, but you don't want to shoot where you're just going around like that. So what I did was when you shoot, it automatically goes into jink mode, but then obviously, you might want to tune where you're pointing at the same time. So then you could just hold the jink button to do that. Oh, sorry, the swivel button to do that. And I've tried to make them as few buttons as possible, but you can see how much harder it is. But then I suppose, like now, this makes it a little bit more involved. There's more work I need to do with the camera, so the camera should like pivot towards the enemy so he's not off screen, and like my right left buttons should flip depending on where you're facing, because at the moment it's just like relative, and that's not great for people. Like if like facing this way, if I push right I go left, if I push left I go right, if I push right here I go right. So obviously it'll be down to user preference and things, but most people probably don't want to have like real relative control. They probably just want to have their standard control. So there's a lot more I want to do there. Yeah, imagine using a text editor for 3 months. Whoa, Emacs, damn. Like, what's the abbreviation for Emacs again? Is it something like it's short for something, but I just can't quite remember what that was. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of like the game logic right there. Yeah, so I think the next things I want to work on is like, so I could do more of the map editor stuff. So like I could add in more features, like more placements. I want to add like second layers of tiles and things. I'm going to check my socials because I think I've got quite a few people on the stream now, on different streams. But yeah, so I mean, basically the like next steps for me is to, well, let's actually just go to the feature list, see what I've got next. I'm going to take your feature idea, but like, and I need to know what you're thinking. Like, what is it with the shadow that needs to be adjusted? Like, because a light source probably will be pretty good as a stretch goal, like for secondary stuff, because it's like just cleaning up the graphics, But if there's something I can make a change to right now, then I'd definitely like to do that, because adding a light source will be quite involved. Like, it'll probably take me at least a day to do the source and then adjust all of these shadows and lighting that I've got to angular adjust that. Actually, it might only take me about, it won't take me a day, it'll probably take me a few hours, but still, I want to focus on this stuff here. So missiles are on timer ticker. Oh, so this is the next thing I want to add. So what I want to do is like, rather than just have 2 missiles at a time, I want to do like a missile, and then I want to do like 4 missiles like that. But, or maybe even 5, maybe a 5th down here, right? Like, but then have them on a counter so they replenish, so like the missiles tick back up again, and so you could log on to 5 targets at once. And that might be for the smaller missiles, because they'll do, it'd be too devastating with the missiles I've got at the moment. Well, depending on how I set the damage, of course. So that's the idea. So you'd have like, your missile set would be like, imagine this would be your missiles, right? And then imagine this is them full, right? So like you've got all your missiles are full, right? And then you fire 2, right? And it goes to like that, and then 3 seconds later it fills up at 1, and then fills up again. So like that, I think that would be a cool mechanism, right? So like When you've got no missiles and you've used them all, like after a second, 1 missile, 2 missiles, 3 missiles, 4 missiles, 5 missiles. But you could fire, if you've got 3. You don't need to wait till it's fully full. So that's probably a nice idea I want to work on. So here's some other features I've got. I want a ground AA, so air to air. A ground A that fires missiles like an MLRS. So like this bullets, I want it to do like a burst of 5, right? But I need to draw this stuff. A laser cannon, so you can imagine it like building up like do 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 do, then blast like that. Some damageable ground structures, some boat enemies. So these are like just easy stuff that I can add, right? Because I've coded in everything here, so that's a piece of cake. Just need to do some drawings and code, re-add the functions there. Chaff is what I'll want once I've got the enemy firing missiles. So I want to eject chaff like a and so that will set the missiles homing off. This is a really important one. So this is for the GUI, maybe not the GUI, but just like screen panning, proper screen panning, because that's not done yet. I'm going to add in allies, just like I did in Omega Storm as well. So you won't be fighting on your own. You'll have a team. Like I say, it's going to be an RPG, so there'll be a lot of in-game quick chat, like maybe Ace Combat, where their image will just pop up with a chat, and then there'll be more stuff where like you've got scrolling text. Once you program a sun, maybe dynamic shadowing based on its position will also look nice. Yeah, 100%. That's what I'm going to do. But I think for now, shadow that rotates about an origin point and not revolve around the player. Yes, I think that would work too. Yeah, I like that. I'm going to copy that. So I'm going to put that in my feature list. So here, I want a sun. I want a light source. All shadows must change respectively. That shouldn't be hard to do. So yeah, I like that. I like that idea. Yeah, that's a really good one. So I think those are the main features I want to sort of do. There's some the main features for the next couple of days, like finish off all of those units, add in the hardest part will be panning in the direction of facing. It's really tricky because it's easy to make it happen, like to move the camera in the direction of facing, so you see a little bit more ahead of you. The problem is how the underlying tiles are adjusted to match, right? So like because the speeds of the tiles are relative, so I'll need to think of that a little bit. Maybe just shift the camera. I kind of need to think about how I'm going to do that. I could probably just alter the camera. Then, so I think, so the camera, get more units in to make that fun. Once I've got those in and I've got chaff, so I've got missiles, chaff, a bunch of different weapons, a bunch of different enemies. I think to get all that done, maybe a day or two. Once I've got all of that done, I'll start to move to the RPG element. So the RPG element, maybe we'll just show, like for an example, games. So I've got lots of games, but here's one called Drone Commander that I was like making a couple of months ago. So it's like a strategy game. So in this is all the stuff that I've done. So go to campaign, I think. So this is like an RPG. So like it's not it's it's not a shmup, right? So it's not an RPG, it's a strategy game. It's a strategy / RPG. So in this you've got like vampires and stuff, and it's basically Command and Conquer, but like with a bit of an anime fantasy twist on it. So like there's a lot more story, interpersonal driven features and things. But obviously, it's not like there's more, I guess, StarCraft and Command and Conquer. But the units, I haven't quite got their movement worked out yet. So I've got harvesters. I can build, like I need to build a pad first. Right, more units, more reinforcements. Yeah, their movement really sucks. I put the red lines because it's just me debugging their movement. So then let's lay down this construction yard. Oh, did I not have 2 builders? Damn, I'll probably get attacked soon. Right, and then build some turrets. Get this guy to build a couple of those destroyers. Oh yeah, I should win now because I've got plenty of units. Yeah, they totally struggle. It's actually really hard. Like doing like pathfinding is hard because of the CPU intensity of having so many units and so many bullets and things. You need to do a lot of compression because your CPU just doesn't like the idea of why is it not doing that? Going in. Oh, whatever. Yeah. So there's a lot of there's a lot to take into that's right, because I didn't have enough money at the time. Okay, cool. So there's a lot to take into account when having lots and lots of units, all with their independent movement, all with their independent planning. It's a lot easier in a shmup or like an open world twin stick shooter because you can just script stuff. But that doesn't work in this case, right? Like that guy was constantly trying to get somewhere, because you need to take into account like your movement, the projection ahead. You can see like really simple. It's really shit. But it's fine, it does the job for now for me to build out more features. Like the idea, like as a developer, you want to focus on building features. You don't want to build the Mona Lisa straight away, because then, a game developer has to build 1,000 Mona Lisas, right? That's the real trick. So you need to concentrate on being able to build paintings fast and then make them pretty later. But yeah, so that was the idea of this game. As you saw, there's like in-game cut scenes and things. Did you? Yeah, I wrote a bunch of Pathfinders. Like I don't call everything's done by me. It's just because I'm crazy that way. Also, it's really hard. Like I would feel bad if I caught, for one, who does Pathfinders, how to say this? I've got much better Pathfinders than that. It's just implementing them. But what makes it hard, oh thanks man, I appreciate that, is I needed to sit down and think about how those guys would react and interact, because they, I tried to look at other pathfinding ideas, the guys who created Command and Conquer, StarCraft, but they actually don't open source the pathfinding. If you Google pathfinding stuff, or even go to ChatGPT, a lot of it's secretive anyway. So the pathfinding stuff out there isn't that great, to be honest. Could be better. So I think yeah, I mean, what can I say, man? The pathfinding, I got something that works, right? Actually, maybe I should just dive into the code and have a look, just so we can talk while we're here. I got some stuff that works. I see if I could even remember where the pathfinding is. Might be in this drone one. So it was actually this game where I built these functions. I just experimented a lot, and I found that the ATAN function works really nice. I was converting stuff from radians to degrees, so I built this wrap angle function, and then the face target function. So this is just stuff that I can use again and again and again, because obviously, man, see when you do games, if you start a new game every time and need to think this out every time, it will take a year to build a game. So I try to reuse what I can, this get distance function, and I try to make them really useful. So like this get distance, which one is it? This angle to target actually gives both the difference between the target, the distance to the target, and the actual angle of the target, right? So this one was like really useful function. So a combination of these with some check boundary stuff, formation stuff, I think, is it in here that I've got the pathfinding? Yeah, so this is where it gets a bit, actually, it would take me too long to go through this. I've got like this move stop, set waypoints, it's like a whole bunch of stuff, but you can think of it as maybe, I don't know, how could I mock this out? Let me think. So the way the way the Pathfinder works is like you start from point X and you need to get to point, to point Y, right? But the problem is what happens, first of all, there could be a person here, a unit there, a unit there, right? There's a lot of units, and so this isn't the problem in itself, right? Like all you would need to do is project the line to start. Like that. Let's take the most basic use case. Project the line from A to B, right? So first of all, you draw a function, right? You need a function, func to project line. Okay, but the problem is, I now need to check at every point. So we know I've got that face target function, so that would work nicely. So this angle to target, right? I just get I could get the coordinates of where I want to go, and project that out. So I could say, like, this is my coordinates, and I want to get to this place where the user's clicked. So I've clicked here with the GUI. So that's MX, MY, my mouse coordinates. Now build that line, right? Like project that line. But the problem is as you go along the line, right? So first thing is, right, check that line, scan the line. Is there any units within, say, a circle at each point, a circle of, say, 20 pixels? So check this part, check this part, check this part, check this part, right? For like a circle of 20 pixels all the way along the line. You may as well make it a big rectangle, but then even then that's not great, because what happens if it's at an angle? Then you would need to mutate the rectangle to cover an equal space. So the first part is checking along the line, but then the next problem is that's just in one frame. Like in the next frame, you've moved up, like your guy's moved along a bit, right? But this guy's moved into your path of travel, right? So you're actually doing those checks every frame, right? Now imagine what happens for this one situation. What if that's 100 units? Now you've got 100 units checking along a line, one at an angle, another angle. And so that could be like 100 times, let's say if it's 1,000, so 100 times 1,000 operations for 1,000 pixels in width per frame, plus the 20 at distance. That's 100 times 1,000 times 20 per frame, right? And you're now still checking if they interact with each other. So really quickly, you're going to get numbers that are looking something like 100 units times 1,000 pixels to target times 20 cm bubble that you check for each pixel, right? So you could say 19 if you took it off, but we'll average at that, right? Times frames per second, right? Now the problem is these units also need to check if they're colliding with each other, right? And so the problem is if unit A collides with, say, unit C down here, right? Then A and C need to agree, like, a target. Like, do they both recalculate? Like, if they do, what I initially had was they just both move out of the way. Like, A moves up and C moves down, right? I had like a nice little, if unit A dot X is in, unit B dot, width minus X, blah, blah, blah. You get the idea, right? So like if that's there, and then check if it's Y coordinates are, within unit B's, and then you make them move, like mutually move out in different directions. the reason why that doesn't happen is the reason why that doesn't work is what happens when you've got your units like to bunch up in strategy games. So they'll basically they'll just keep moving and bumping into each other and then moving back, and each unit you add increases that complexity. So if you then pathfind with that into account and readjust based upon those units, it becomes really unworkable. So one of the things that I haven't implemented yet, but the way I know I can solve this is by using a bit of clustering. So what I'll do is like check how many units am I nearby, and generate a generalized move order, like how many people. So I think I was in the process of doing that actually. So I don't know if I go to maybe in skirmish battle coordinator, like let me quickly go down. I think I was halfway in the process. So if resides checked, issues command. There you go. So how many units are selected? And I'm saying like if there's more than one unit selected, I've got this like move command. I've changed the way that they stop, like the way that they come to a halt and the distance they give each other based upon the number of units selected. And I wonder if I'm using it here as well. But basically that was my thinking, right? Is to create more calculation algorithms for certain groups and certain shapes of groups to readjust. Now obviously like it's never a straight line, right? Because that X is there. Now I need to like, what I do is I say, right, go as far as here, then go down a bit, and then go along and up a bit. But the problem is what happens if you go down and then you bump into something there, right? So there's a lot I've been taking into consideration for that. So I like your Pathfinder. It takes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, let's try it. Let's try it. ChatGPT. How would you implement a path finding algorithm for an RTS where multiple units, the units should move out of each other's way but also coordinate together their path if all selected together? Let's just see what it says. Yeah, that's what I was kind of like. I'm guessing, like, I just came up with that in my mind, but I'm guessing it's the same thing. Multi-agent Pathfinder designed to handle multiple agents moving simultaneously. This conflict-based search algorithm, CBS, works by dividing the search space into smaller sub-problems. Yeah, okay, I like that one. To improve the agents by prioritizing the CPs. To implement in an RTS game, you need to define the search space, which can be represented as a grid or a graph. Each cell on the grid, that would just be a rect in our case. Define the agents, their start and goal locations. Yeah, so I can do that. Okay, so just implement the algorithm, right? No, we need more information than that. This can be done by using a search tree where each node represents the state of the agent, i.e. the location of each agent. And yeah, this is exactly what I was doing. This is what I'm doing already. By generating child nodes. Yeah, okay. This one, okay, mine's is slightly different, but this is probably computationally expensive. Yeah, so it's like, okay, if I move left, do I collide into somebody? If I move right, do I collide into somebody? I might do a little bit more thinking on that. There could be a way I could shoehorn that in, but I don't like, I'm not a fan of tree searches in general for a large volume of agents because it gets messy. But I think if I mix that with what I've got, maybe do an aggregated tree search, that might work. That could be nice. I was trying to coordinate path fusion. You can use these paths to move the unit. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I think that's it's passable, but again, I'm not a fan of tree logic. How about putting Pathfinder on another thread? Yeah, totally. So in Game Maker, you can't do that. In Pygame you can, but to be honest, like threads in generally in Python are not great. Like trying to pull them and like join them and things can be quite painful, especially in flight. I think a thread would definitely be on the card. Like I do like the idea, but it might be something I would use. It might be something I'd use if the numbers got too big. Because I don't know if you've ever played like Red Alert and Red Alert 2. When you have a high number of units on the screen, it totally slows down. That's because the Pathfinder is struggling, right? But I think your idea with the thread is that's when I would use the thread. Like if I'm struggling, I would kick off another thread. I've done it before in Pygame quite a lot. I use it for my Amu AI. Like that AI, she uses like thousands of threads. But in Pygame, it's just a little bit more finicky because the timing of the received command of it to complete. There's clocks and alarms that you need to add in. But I like the idea, man. That's really good. Okay, I think I'm gonna wrap up. I think we've covered a lot today. Like a lot of maybe not as much as I'd like, but I'm quite happy with where I got to. I've got the missiles working. I kind of got the missile working before this session, so I kind of plugged everything in within the hour before I did this. What I'm going to do now is probably going to wrap up. I've got the missile working to how I like it for now. I can expand those features out to those 5 and recharge once I have more enemies. I think the next thing now is to add more enemies, more ground units, more ground structures to attack, and I'm going to listen to a podcast and just do some drawings of maps, really like those scribbles again. Maybe I'll draw like a snow terrain. So I don't know, where was I think, what was that I was working on? Yeah, so like here, this is like super basic, right? But even that, I suppose, takes time, right? It's really this should be shaded, right? There should be some kind of gradient here. Maybe this and here. I should probably use some kind of maybe pixelated gradient, some divering on the go, maybe something like that. Yeah, or maybe diver the whole, this whole tile here, the whole concrete. I'm gonna do a snow one next. So I don't know, I'll need to consider how I want to do it. What does snow even look like? Yeah, I have no idea. I'll probably play about, add some of those. This is what I was thinking of. I was thinking of an AA unit, but I hadn't quite considered it. I like the idea of some kind of X, and tripod, these are the legs, right, for the AA gun, and then this is just a scribble, right, but have an X and then have the gun as some kind of some kind of circle with a turret, kind of something like this, and then so it can swivel around, something like that. But it's done too often, right? And it's I'd be worried that people be you're just copying me, but it's the easiest way to do an AA gun. For the missiles, you want to do something multiple tubes, right? Like an MLRS, that will work fine for the missiles. I'd like some kind of Gatling gun maybe for the bullets, but yeah, this is what I'm going to work on next. But yeah, CNC Red Alert's a classic, totally. Have you looked into some chat? By the way, is that you, Ben? Just wondering there, because the IO have a look into some Chatty or Chatterino. They should pop up notifications whenever someone types. Yeah, okay, thanks for that. That's good. Let me go take a note of that. Chatty or Chatterino. Yeah, because I'm very lax with the way I'm doing stuff right now. But I'm going to add that to the feature list. Don't save that. So feature list. I'll put that at the top actually, because I kind of next stream I'll add that in. Okay, cool. Thanks very much for watching. I really appreciate that. Like, I'm really glad. Like, I'm really happy to get the feedback as well, because it kind of like, this is, I guess, a pre beta for me. So it is really good to have people watching and giving advice. And just thanks for watching. I'm gonna wrap up. I'll probably do another stream in a couple of days, but yeah.